You're listening to XVGM Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm Mike.
And I'm Justin.
And this is episode 94.
Spookyfest
2022. I almost said 2023. I almost jumped.
Oh, man.
Another year.
We're here living in 2022. Mike's living in 2023.
Hey, man, listen. You got to think forward. You got to think positive. You got to think way ahead. Today, we're talking about some spooky songs for the Halloween season. This is our 4th year in a row doing Spookyfest.
This festival just will not die. Like a zombie.
Yes, very similar. They just don't die. They just keep coming. Mm-hmm. Let's just get right into it. I mean, what song did we play? Well, we played a track from Frankenstein, The Monster Returns. This came out on the NES in 1990, and that was stage 1. It's by Linus and maybe a second person named Cha-Cha, or Cha-Heart-Cha. It's very confusing.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that Linus got some work after Peanuts ended.
Well, I mean, after the disappointment of the Great Pumpkin not being there, you know, he started getting into a drinking habit, you know, and he fell down into a dark, deep, scary place. So,
well,
you know.
It made for good music, I guess.
Snoopy got him out of it with the help of Woodchuck. Or Woodstock. Woodstock. Wow, Woodchuck? Yeah, Woodstock. Woodstock helped him out.
That's good. That's good. I mean, Woodstock's good for that kind of thing. Yeah. Anyways,
so Linus came back, did this track with Cha-Cha.
Cha-Cha real smooth.
Yeah. It's really confusing, though, because like if you look it up online, it's credited to Linus Cha-Heart-Cha. It's a little image of a heart. There's a possibility that it might be one name. It might be just Linus Cha-Cha.
Oh.
Because I've seen this credited in different places as one name, and I've seen it credited in different places as 2 names. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. I couldn't find any information on them or who was behind the pseudonym. But this is a cool track. This really gave me like spooky hip hop vibes, which is cool because maybe about I think it was 2 years ago, we played New Ghostbusters. The new Ghostbusters track from the NES.
Yes.
I think it was an NES game. That also gave me very like hip hop spooky vibes. And so this one, I really like those drums, the kind of drum solos, the da 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 dun dun da dun da, and then it goes into like pa 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 pa, like those cool like different drum solos. You don't really hear drum solos on NES. I mean, yeah, you'll get the occasional like fill from like Konami type stuff, but yeah, you don't really get too much of that on the NES.
So I really kind of like the Asian themed notes that they do there, because the classic thing is the da 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 da,
right,
and this is like 2 notes off from that.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. Like I heard it, but it just didn't like trigger in my mind when I was listening to it.
And anytime I hear something that sounds even somewhat like that, it's just that's where my brain goes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't think Frankenstein was Asian, but I mean, it's a combination of many parts. Maybe there was an Asian foot in there. Who knows?
Maybe. You never know. I will say, I think the title of this game is kind of silly. Frankenstein the Monster Returns. So, I mean, like, Frankenstein is the doctor.
Right, but this is Frankenstein : The Monster Returns.
Right.
Who are you playing as?
Are you playing as Frankenstein? I don't think so.
Oh, are you playing as the monster?
I think you're playing... No, you're playing as a knight in this one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then maybe they just throw the name Frankenstein in there to let you know which monster. Because without that, it's just the monster returns and which monster.
Yeah, you're playing as just a generic swordsman, like knight type character. He's all decked out in like armor, like a suit of armor. And yet, like when you're playing the game and you're running around and like jumping and stuff, you're moving relatively fast for having a full suit of armor. Yeah. This is supposedly set after the whole, original Frankenstein story. So basically, Frankenstein's monster comes back from the dead and has brought some of his demons from hell or whatever via magic, some sort of magic. And so he starts attacking villages with this army that he has. And then he kidnaps a woman named Emily, kind of like, "Rawr, gonna make you my woman, rawr." That's my Frankenstein's monster impression. How was it? Like on a scale of 0 to 10.
11.
I'm trying to channel like the Boris Karloff era, like, like that.
That's pretty Boris Karloff.
That was his whole like.
I'll take it.
So that's pretty much it. You're trying to rescue Emily. Yeah, it's a side-scrolling action game. It's got a little bit of beat-em-up kind of style to it in a way, but it's also very similar to Castlevania.
Okay.
Visually, this game is really neat. I mean, like, it's got some really kind of wild visual style in terms of the backgrounds. I mean, there's, your castlescapes and your outdoors areas or whatever. There's graveyards and whatnot. But some of the later levels, like, really good use of, like, wild and wacky imagery, like very spooky. So yeah, I dig it.
The cover art actually reminds me of, I don't think it's exactly the Castlevania font, but the Frankenstein look.
Gothic, Gothic style font in there. This was developed by Tosei. Tosei is better known for doing like Game & Watch games, the Legendary Starfy series. They did a lot of work with Nintendo on various different games, a lot of Famicom games and stuff like that. So, they're a pretty well-known developer, and they still make games to this very day, even on like the Nintendo Switch. I think what happened was they got brought over to Nintendo's side of things, doing work for them for a lot of stuff. They did all sorts of stuff for Sega as well. Okay. Like Resident Evil, Code Veronica, they worked on that for Sega and Capcom. Some of the SmackDown games, like I don't know. It's pretty wild that they're still around to this very day.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I don't know who Linus and Cha Cha are. I wish I kind of did, because this soundtrack's pretty good. It's a nice, like, spooky song to play in this time of year. And like I said, I really dig those hip-hop vibes.
Yeah. So. No, I dig it. Mm-hmm. What are you going to roll us up with first?
Yeah, well, I figured I'd get this crowd going. We got to keep in mind we're at a festival. We're surrounded by all of our favorite people here from the podcast. I think I see Ed from VG Embassy over there. Maybe some Robin Purnell way in the back there, kind of playing on a haunted DDR machine. Who else is back there? Maybe
I think I see Alex
Messenger, Bedroth. Yeah, we got KVGM's back there. Yeah, we got a bunch of people, and a bunch of people I've never seen before back there, like Bar Silence, and I don't know. Yeah, I've never seen them stop by, so it's good. It's good to see some newbies.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Enjoy, everybody.
Yeah, so I'm going to get us started with a Namco game, moving from a Bandai published game to a Namco published game. This is Ghoul Panic. This came out on the PS1 and arcade in 1999. Came out on the PS1 a year later, but not here in the US. I believe it was either Europe and Japan or just Europe. Challenge Stage 8 is the name of this one, and it's either by Manabu Namiki or an unknown composer. Welcome back to Spookyfest. That was my first pick, Ghoul Panic, the PS1 and arcade game that came out in '99. That was Challenge Stage 8 by Manabu Namiki, or an unknown composer. I'll get into that in just a minute.
Nice.
What do you think of this one?
This was really cool. This definitely had the horror and spooky theme vibes. I couldn't quite tell if it was like bells or like a toy piano in the beginning, but either way, I mean, I don't really like toy pianos that much anyway. They just, it reminded me of like children ghosts. My grandmother used to have one when I was growing up, and I remember
a ghost?
No, a toy piano.
Oh, a toy
and I remember plinking on it and just being like, I don't like how this sounds. And then a ghost started playing it.
Right.
But so like I thought that was really cool. That added to the atmosphere. And then those like psycho string stabs.
Love
just like
those. That's pretty much what sold me on the track. Yeah.
I figured like that when those came in, I was like, oh yeah, this is chef's kiss.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of anything where you're using a sound effect like that as like a repeated like blast, and then in the background you've got like drums going on. A lot of like, you know, more industrial kind of vibes like that. That's what most attracts me, I think, to industrial is like the
drums.
I need like harsh sounds and drums.
Okay.
And I need that, and in most industrial, I need something else to kind of like round that out. If it's just that, then it's no good. It needs like you need some sort of melody, so to speak. But yeah, I really dig when stuff like that occurs in a song. So that really stood out to me, and that made me want to pick this. Plus, it's just I had never heard of this one, so I was like, oh, this looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, for good reason. It didn't come out here, so
it did not. It's a little misleading because the Wikipedia article that it's online is incorrect. Whereas if you look at other sources like Moby Games and, you know, VGMPF and all the other random sites, they all are basically like, yo, this didn't come out in America on the PS1. It came out in America on arcades. The Wikipedia article directly conflicts that. It says a home version for the PlayStation was released in Japan on April 20th, 2000, and in North America later that year. And then they even linked to IGN's article about the game. But if you look for the game online, it does not exist in NTSC US release. So it never came out here on PS1, and it looks like it's a Europe and Japan exclusive.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
But it did come out in America in the arcades?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, at least according to Wikipedia. I couldn't find any sources for it otherwise. Ghoul Panic is a light gun game. It's developed by the same producer as the Bloody Roar series for Hudson Soft. It's very similar to Point Blank. So if you like the point blank light gun games, you'll dig this. It's got more of a spooky vibe to it.
That's how I play all the light gun games. Point blank against
Point blank.
the TV.
Boo. All right, so this game is pretty wild. It's got a cutesy kind of art style, kind of mixed with a little bit of like parappa for the actual art. Like the art pictures itself looks kind of a little bit parappa. It's got like wide-eyed cats and stuff like that for the flyers. But when it comes to the game itself, it's super cutesy. You could play as 2 different characters that were cursed by a witch. And the curse that was put on them is that they get turned into cats or anthropomorphic cat people. One is Kevin and the other is Lisa, and they're just 2 kids that got turned in. So yeah, that's what's going on. So they've got to take over the mansion and defeat everything in the mansion and save the mansion from ghosts, as well as any kind of like monsters, so like Frankenstein's monsters in it and stuff like that. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with like, even though it's called Ghoul Panic, it doesn't have anything to do with like Ghoul Patrol or Zombies Ate My Neighbors or any of those Zombie Panic. None of those style games. It's totally
Its own thing.
Yeah, well, it's a spin-off of Point Blank.
Right.
So yeah, but if you like the light gun games, I think you'll dig it. It looks pretty fun and very fun, cutesy horror, which I also dig.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell me about this whole Manabu Namiki situation.
Yeah, so every source that I found online did not list a composer for this. I found one buried source after digging for a while who said that Manabu Namiki did the sound effects for the game, but I could not find a source for anything regarding the composer themselves. So there's a good chance that Manabu Namiki also did the music for it. So that's why it's getting a dual credit of unknown composer and Manabu Namiki. If you happen to know, meaning you, the audience, happen to know who recorded this or who composed it, let us know. xvgmradio@gmail.com or bother us on Discord or Twitter or whatever. And we'll make sure to clarify that in a future episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But Manabu Namiki, we've talked about before on the show, aside from being the Bloody Roar composer, Bloody Roar 1, Bloody Roar 2, did music on the arcade mode of Escaluda 2.
Oh, yeah,
Which we talked about before. Namco Museum DS in 2007. They did sound direction. Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth in 2009. A little bit more spooky for you. They did music on that, which has a phenomenal soundtrack with so many synth hits in it, just buried all over the place. It's so good. Something a little newer. The latest game that they're credited for is Kira Kira Star Night XA or EXA in 2021. They did the Adventure Stage 8 music. So, yeah.
Nice.
That's about it. But yeah, they're still working in games today. Looks like the kind of game that I might want to check out, but at the same time, I know that it's probably not going to run great on like a modded system for the US if I wanted to play it on PS1, because it's a Europe-only game, unless I'm going to play the Japanese version, which will play in 60 hertz. So... Yeah, that's it. That's my first pick. Looks like you got something coming up.
Yeah, so this is going to be from a Game Boy game from the 2000s. This is The Mummy, based off of the Brendan Fraser vehicle of the same name.
Yes.
This is BGM 03, and it is composed by Junko Karashima. Welcome back. That was The Mummy, specifically BGM 03 from the Game Boy game that came out in 2000, and it was composed by Junko Karashima.
I dig this track. I mean, classic Konami. Mm-hmm. It's nice hearing Konami on the Game Boy Color. I always wanted a Game Boy Color Castlevania game.
Yeah.
This is probably as close as I would get, most likely. I mean, there's some other games that Konami made around this time that came out in Japan only that like are like action. There's like a Hunter x Hunter or X Hunter X or whatever that series is.
Yeah. So I recently learned, I think it's just called Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, really?
I don't know why, but
that's weird.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of games out there that they made for like Game Boy and Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance that are like very Castlevania-ish, but they're like random Japanese franchises or anime franchises or whatever, and it's just weird that they never like made a Castlevania game for the Game Boy Color. They technically ported Castlevania the Adventure and Belmont's Revenge over to Game Boy Color. They did like a collection of a bunch of different games for the Game Boy Color that were all like Game Boy games that they just like converted over to Game Boy Color and added color to them.
Right. But there were no like exclusives or whatever you want to.
Right. The ones with Castlevania games on them are stupid hard to find and expensive. So yeah, kind of a bummer. But yeah, I don't know. Tell me about this one. I actually own it. I bought it a while ago because I knew of this soundtrack. It was one of those like random finds, and I was like, "Ooh, let me buy this because it's cheap. It's like $5 or $8 or whatever." So I bought it and kind of shelved it and was like, "I'll eventually get to this."
Yeah, actually, I do want to play this one because I stumbled across the soundtrack for it and was just like, "Oh man, this is good." I just kept listening to the tracks and I'm like, I don't know what to pick. Like they're all really good.
Yeah.
So like, if you like this song, go out and check out the soundtrack.
Yeah.
It is a banger, and a lot of stuff kind of similar to this. Some of it's got spookier vibes, some of it's got rockier vibes, but it's really nifty.
This one's really creepy crawly.
Yeah.
You know?
This is, I mean, stage 3, so you're still early on. I assume you are, exploring like the tomb of Imhotep or one of the tombs or something.
Yeah.
But the plot of the game is mostly unchanged from the movie. Like the little details here and there to make it a game.
Yeah, Imhotep. That's like an AI, right? Like Alexa or like or like Google. What's the Google?
Yeah, it's just Google Home.
Google Home
or Siri. Yeah, no,
Siri.
too many syllables.
Yeah, you gotta be like, "Yo, Imhotep,"
and then he'll just be like,
"Yeah."
But yeah. So you play as Rick O'Connell, who has accidentally discovered Hamunaptra, the Egyptian city of the dead. He returns with Egyptologist Evelyn Carnahan and her brother Jonathan, and they accidentally awaken Imhotep, who's a priest that was cursed and mummified alive. Rick and the companions that he has have to stop Imhotep from destroying the world, just like in the movie. And in each of the levels, Rick must gather the 6 pieces of the Star Key. However, there's a large number of enemies that will get in the way. You can use a number of weapons, including a machete, dual pistols, a shotgun, a Lewis machine gun, dynamite, and a magical amulet that'll get rid of any enemy.
Dual wieldies.
Dual wieldies, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dual
That's
wielding
cool.
pistols, let's go.
Yeah, you don't really see too much of that on the Game Boy Color, or really just Game Boy in general, dual wieldies. So
yeah,
that's cool.
But it looks pretty cool overall. I enjoy the movie. I love Brendan Fraser, and I've seen the first 2 movies. I've seen the first movie a number of times. Second movie.
Tell me how you really feel about him.
I mean, he's great. Did you see Doom Patrol?
No.
Oh, he was good in that. He's in a robot suit.
Did you see Airheads?
Of course.
He was great in Airheads.
Steve Buscemi, Adam Sandler.
Yep, classic movie.
See, Encino Man?
Yep, he was good in that too. Yeah.
A lot of good stuff in the 90s.
I've liked him in pretty much everything I've seen him in.
Yeah,
he's
Monkey
a good
Bone?
actor.
Wasn't a good movie, but he was good in it.
Yeah. He's kind of like gotten back into the limelight.
Yeah, well, because he disappeared for a long while because some stuff went down.
Yeah, some personal stuff.
Yeah. And I get that, and I can appreciate that. Just like with
just like that time that I replaced you with a robot for 20 episodes.
Yeah,
you were sorting out some stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody noticed.
Nobody had to know. You didn't have to bring it up.
Shoot, I shouldn't have brought it up.
We have our first sponsor of the festival.
Yeah.
Rick's Warehouse. Are you tired of sleeping on softness every night? Rick's Rickopedic mattress might be the bedding experience for all you hard mattress fans out there. Just climb into Rick O'Connell's patented sarcophobed and sleep your days away. Hate sleeping with the lights blaring at you? Do you need complete darkness? No problem. There's a special stone cover that slips right over the top so you'll never have to see the light of day. forever. Act now, and we'll throw in a free bandage wrap for free. Stop on down to Rick's Rickopedic Mattress today and get the sleep of your life. Forever.
Nice read. Nice channeling of Bob. Is Bob's discount furniture? I know it's still a thing. Bob is now CG, fully CG, but I believe it's like a Northeast thing only.
Well, there is one I know of in Nevada.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know how expansive it is.
I don't know.
It is mostly a Northeast because they exist in I think like New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut.
It's mostly
New
a
York.
Northeast thing. So more than half of our listeners are probably like. What are they referencing? It's a mattress store. That's all you need to know.
Well, no, it's a furniture store.
Oh, a furniture store. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But you were channeling some heavy Bob from.
Oh yeah.
He's got that high pitched nasally thing going.
Yeah, they're based out of Manchester, Connecticut, actually.
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. There's one out in Wisconsin. Okay. I guess
there you go.
I guess they're national now, but either way.
Yeah. All their beds are made of cheese.
They should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, our first sponsor of the night.
All right.
Let me talk a little bit about Junko Karashima, and then we can get into your interestingly named next game. Mm-hmm. So Junko Karashima started out doing sound on Vandal Hearts in 1997, and then went on to do composition in a Ganbare Goemon game, which was Ganbare Goemon Kuru Nara Koi Yashi Geika no Kuroi Kage. And that was a PlayStation game. Mm-hmm. They have done a lot of sound staff, but they are listed for composition in a number of the Beatmania 2DX games. So 2DX Happy Sky, 2DX 11, 2DX Red, and Dance Dance Revolution X2 in 2009. So definitely a Konami staple.
Yeah.
They also did some design planning on this game, The Mummy.
Oh, cool. They're listed as sound staff for Castlevania Symphony of the Night in '98. They didn't compose it, but they're definitely listed on the sound staff, possibly for sound effects or sound direction or something like that. So, because as we all know, Mishru Yamane did the soundtrack for that one. Yeah. Cool. Up next, I've got a track from a Dreamcast game called Ill Bleed. This came out in 2001, and this track is called A Losing Battle, and it's by Yukinori Kikuchi. Hey, that was a nice little grindy number, wasn't it? I was digging that. That was Ill Bleed, the Dreamcast 2001 release. That track was called A Losing Battle by Yukinori Kikuchi. And man, I love those like grindy instruments. Like, you know, again, I don't know what it is, but I'm really channeling my industrial vibes on this episode for whatever reason. I guess I'm just in the mood. This is a survival horror game that came out exclusively for the Dreamcast. There was a port that was going to be coming out for the Xbox. It was like an enhanced version. Never came out. So, yeah, sad face. So, yeah, this one is pretty wild. I'm going to talk a little bit about the plot and everything and the gameplay and all that, but man, I really like that, again, that like stabby, haunting piano. The dun,
Yeah,
dun,
yeah,
dun, just keeping the
constant
beat.
chords, yep.
Yeah. And then just all the, you know, shrieks and, you know, mechanical shrieks and screams. It was spooky.
It was definitely spooky. It was definitely creepy. It was definitely a losing battle for my ears. No. I made the joke during the break that this sounds like it was done by the person who did the mansion basement from the Resident Evil
Yeah.
director's cut.
Oh, that one that's like, like the free jazz.
Yeah. I guess you could call it free jazz. It was
A little bit.
it was kind of free garbage, but
Oh.
this was not. Oh, I mean, you know the story behind.
Yeah, he didn't
guy.
actually write the music.
And there was a lot of BS.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was definitely not that bad. Like this had a beat. This had there was a lot to it. I was just not expecting it to be that kind of grindy and drony.
Yeah, this track is also labeled in other places sample 6. So, and the rest of the soundtrack is labeled like other stuff that's not sample, you know, like song 1 or song 2 or whatever. But I'm wondering if this is more meant to be a more like ambient atmospheric kind of song instead of an actual like, you
Or
know,
maybe something that plays like over or under the background music when something's going on.
right. To me, this really gives like a boss vibe.
Okay,
You know, like
I see
something's
that.
chasing you.
Yeah.
So Illbleed, as I said earlier, it's a survival horror game. You're playing through 6 different stages that are all kind of seen through like a film lens, like a movie theater sort of thing. You have to finish each stage by making sure that you complete whatever task you need to complete. Every single stage has like traps and stuff, different kinds of enemies. And the whole plot is you can play as multiple different characters in this one, but you're starting off as Eriko Christie, and you can later get Kevin Kurtzman, Randy Fairbanks, and Michelle Waters.
Michelle Waters, really? I don't know any of these names. Are they supposed to mean anything to me?
Those are just like random characters.
they're just
That's
character
their
names.
names.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's,
The full names that they gave them, I'm like, are these people that we should know?
yeah, I don't know if it's Michael Waters or Michelle Waters, because it's spelled Michelle, like Michel.
Oh,
Michelle,
okay.
like French, like Michel,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of thing. But anyways, in this game you get something called the horror monitor, and you can use that in the beginning of the game to see where like the traps are and stuff. I think it's kind of like a guessing game in that sense, where you're like trying to figure out where the traps are. But if you lose blood in the game when you get attacked, then your pulse raises and you have less stamina, so you're going through. And obviously, if you lose out of that, you bleed to death, and you know that's it. Or if you're scared to death, then you die, or you need to be revived. So and you have to continue with either a different character, and if there's no characters in the game, it's over.
Oh.
The plot in this one is pretty wild. It's very horror movie-esque. You're playing as Eriko Christie. Her father was a horror theme park designer. And what he used to do is he used to try out all the different scary stuff on her. And, you know, yeah. And so finally her mom was like, screw this. I'm done with this guy. And she divorces him and they leave. You know, several years later, you know, she's now, you know, an adult or, you know, young adult or whatever. Her and the 3 other people, Kevin, Randy, and Michelle, get tickets to a new horror theme park called Illbleed. So the thing is that if they go and can reach the end of the game or the end of the park, then they get an absurd reward of $100 million if they can finish the end of the park or get to the end. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the thing is that she decides to not go. And so her 3 friends are like, I'm going to go. So they all go and they leave her behind, but they leave her with a ticket. You're basically playing as Eriko going to this place because you never hear back from your friends. So you go to investigate to try to figure out what happened to them, and that is the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique, different game for a survival horror. Yeah, this one looks really cool. I know it's got a big cult following. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, they missed this detail or that detail, it's because I haven't played it.
Yeah, I haven't played it, and we only have so much time to talk about the game.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah, Yukinori Kikuchi was the composer on this one. Really not much to their name. The first game was Tetris S in 96.
Tetris S?
Tetris S.
Huh.
Yeah. They did work on Blue Stinger in 99, Dangan in 2000, Pro Gear in 2001. That's a really cool shooter, like a Capcom shooter if I recall. Illbleed, and then 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. They were credited as one of the composers from that Vanillaware game that we talked about with Pragmatic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, little while back, in like episode, like 70-something, 80-something?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That was 2019, the year that was released, and that's the latest game. So they took a huge break in between, an 18-year break in between composing. So that's all I got for that one. I'm going to go try and see if I can score a copy of this game. I have a feeling it's going to be stupid expensive, but I want to check it out. It sounds really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let me know how it is. I'm not big on survival horror, but the concept sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, sure. What do you got coming up? You got some silliness coming on.
I got some real silliness. This game is a blast from the past, and the cartoon that it's based off is a blast from my childhood. This is Count Duckula in No Sax, Please, We're Egyptian.
That's the full name of the game?
That's the full name of the game. It's also the name of an episode. We'll get into that.
Okay.
This came out on the Commodore 64 in 1989. The track is the main theme, and this has an unknown composer.
You're listening to XVGM Radio.
Welcome back to Spookyfest 2022. That was the main theme from the Commodore 64 game Count Duckula in No Sax, Please, We're Egyptian. It came out in 1989, and the composer is unknown.
What is up with that name?
What? No sax, please?
No
We're
sax,
Egyptian?
please. We're Egyptian.
So a lot of the titles of Duckula episodes were just weird, funny things like that.
Yeah.
So this game, I don't know how much it's based off of the episode, because the episodes are only like 20 minutes. They're not like a lot of the cartoons nowadays where they're like 11 minute segments. Like Duckula was always like a solid half hour. I mean, as far as what's up with the name of the game in the episode, like they like to do funny, punny things. I don't really fully understand the pun because I'm sure there's some like sexual undertones there.
I was gonna say,
but Duckula was a British production.
Okay.
So the production company was Thames, like the river, and they tend to kind of skirt that line even in some of their children's programming. And that's just how it is. The entire game takes place in Egypt. And for those who are unfamiliar with Count Duckula, he is a vampire duck. He's from a long line of vampire ducks. The show starts after he's been resurrected, but in the opening they tell you, he was killed by a vampire hunter, and then his servants brought him back with this ritual that can only be performed once every century, and when the moon is lined up and everything. And one of the things that they needed was blood. And one of the servants mixed up a bottle of ketchup with the blood bottle, and so they put that in, and it resurrected him, but it resurrected him as a vegetarian. So he only eats tomatoes and tomato sauce and things like that. He actually detests the idea of drinking blood.
When did Count Duckula's show come out?
Got to be like 1983, 84 or something.
So I'm wondering if Konami stole that plot for once every 100 years, Dracula Rises.
Oh, no. I'm sure they stole that plot from, vampire stories and stuff.
Right. I know. This is funny.
Yeah. Oh, wow. No, it's not that old. It's old. It's 80s, but it's 1988 was when it first came out.
That checks out. So I do remember this cartoon very vaguely. It used to come on right after Star Trek reruns on Nickelodeon.
Star Trek on Nickelodeon?
Yeah.
I don't remember Star Trek on Nickelodeon, but I do remember watching this on Nickelodeon.
Like more towards the evening, at least for me, they would play, in my area, they would play Star Trek.
Oh, original series?
The original series reruns at like 7:30 at night. And then 8 o'clock, Count Duckula would come on.
Huh.
Yeah, pretty weird.
Yeah, I feel like I remember watching this more in like the afternoon time or the morning time, but I don't know. It was so long ago, I really couldn't tell you. I just remember watching the show and loving it.
I'd be curious of what our listeners think about that, as far as like if they remember the same thing as I do with it coming on after Star Trek.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean Nickelodeon was it wasn't like. What's the word? It was cable, not local. So the programming didn't usually change from area to area, but it may have been like they played it at one point in the daytime and one point in the evening.
Right.
Speaking of, I said it was an unknown composer. The composer of the Duckula theme, which this was a reproduction or arrangement of, was Mike Harding.
Okay.
So we're not really going to go into him because he doesn't have any video game credits, but the arranger. We should say we know the composer, we do not know the arranger. But
I like that they tried to stay somewhat faithful with the sound effects, kind of poking in here and there. But honestly, a lot of it just kind of sounds like noise to me. Like when they throw it in, like it doesn't have the same vibe as the original track does when you compare it with the original.
Well, the original has a lot more like syncopation and swing to it.
A lot more funk.
Yeah, whereas this is, they were programming it for Commodore 64, and it's very like on the beat. So rather than getting that da 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 da, you get da 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 da. Right. So
those note bends and things like that. Like you can't really enunciate. I mean, they could, but only to a certain point. You lose kind of the human effect when converting to something as something like the Sid chip.
Yep.
Yeah.
I should also mention this game had a sequel that came out. It was just called Count Duckula 2.
Okay.
I think it came out on Commodore 64 and possibly the Amiga. This one came out also on the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC, the Amiga, and the Atari ST. And the game itself looks pretty good. Like, this could have come out on the NES. I'm sure it didn't because there probably wasn't enough of interest in it in America. So this was very clearly a British show, and it was released in the game was released in Europe. But yeah, I loved the show when I was a kid. I would like to see if I can get my hands on some kind of an emulation of this because it looks kind of neat. It's a multi-screen platformer. The objective of the game is to collect a saxophone found at the top of a pyramid, and to do that you need to collect other items to get past obstacles. You have Count Duckula and his servants Igor and Nanny.
Igor?
I'm pretty sure it was Igor. Or am I thinking of
Igor?
Yeah, well, it's Igor, but
That's Igor.
Well, I might be thinking of.
I am Igor.
Yeah, Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein.
Oh.
I think he called himself Igor, and I think that stuck with me.
Does he? Oh,
Well, because
I haven't seen that.
Frankenstein doesn't call himself Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein.
Oh, right.
And then Igor goes, oh, well, it's not Igor, it's Igor. So that might be where I'm getting that from.
Yes, that checks out. Okay.
But yeah, so you've transported themselves in because the castle transports all over the world. So you transport yourselves to Egypt, and you're looking for this ancient saxophone with strange magical powers. And you have to explore the pyramids, solving puzzles, collecting items, and watching out for mummies and crows.
Nice. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Hey, do you notice over there? It looks like somebody's coming towards us.
Oh yeah,
They're coming right at us.
He's coming right for us. It's Alex. It's Alex, the messenger.
Watch out! It's Alex, messenger, coming right at us. Stop, Alex! No! Okay, what do you want?
Hey, what's up, Alex?
Hey, Mike and Justin. It's the messenger. I'm really digging what you guys have been playing so far for Spookyfest. And I think this track would be really spooky as well. So I was wondering if you guys could play Chad's Broken Wind from the game Super Meat Boy,
Nice.
which was composed by Danny Baranowski, and it came out on quite a handful of systems. So I think that'd be really awesome, and I'm going to let you guys keep at it. And I think I'm going to go hang out with those spooky, scary skeletons over there. They seem like they're a good time.
They are, but be careful. They no, he's already. They've got him.
Yep.
Okay, well.
Wow, David S. Pumpkins is really chopping his head off. Oof, blood everywhere. Well, now it's a party.
I'm sure he'll fix that. He's got an episode of VGM Journey to release.
Oh yeah. No, I mean once you get used to David S. Pumpkins, he'll put you back together.
Yeah. But like Alex just said before being swept away by those skeletons, this will be Super Meat Boy. Came out in the Xbox 360 in 2010 originally, and this is Chad's Broken Wind, also known as Chapter 2 Dark World by Danny Baranowski.
Hey, welcome back. That was our Patreon pick from Alex Messenger of AVGM Journey. Super Meat Boy was the name of the game. That was the Xbox 360 release that came out in 2010. That came out on the PC, I believe, as well, in this particular version with this particular soundtrack in 2010. It got re-released on later systems with a totally different soundtrack, not done by Danny. I guess there were some disagreements between Danny Baranowski and the creators of the game. They didn't want to pay the money that he was asking for the re-release or whatever of the soundtrack, so they redid the entire soundtrack with different composers.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because the only version that I've ever played was on the 360, and it's such a good game. But, like, I'm so used to the Danny Baranowski music, I can't play it on anything else. Like, it's just not the same. I'm not saying anything bad about the composers for that version, the other versions. I'm sure it's great. It's just, this is the version I have nostalgia for this version, so. I played a ton of this game. Chad's Broken Wind, Channel 2, Dark World was the name of this track by Danny Baranowski. But did you play a lot of this one?
No, although I did watch a lot. Like, I think I watched our friend Eric play a lot of this.
Which is funny because I got him into this game.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah. It was one of those things where, like, Eric would come over and watch me get super frustrated, but
that's why I never played. I was like, I could see how frustrating it was, and I was like, no thanks.
Yeah, you play as this character, Meat Boy, and you are trying to save your true love, who's known as Bandage Girl, from the evil Dr. Fetus. It's a very silly game. There's lots of throwback references to other older video games like Street Fighter, Castlevania, Mega Man, Ninja Gaiden, Mario, all that stuff. So it's pretty cool that they throw those little, like, intro cutscenes where they, like, directly reference, like, instead of the Street Fighter 2 where, like, the guys are punching each other in the, you know, and then it scrolls up to the building. Instead of that, it's Dr. Fetus and Meat Boy punching it out, and then it scrolls up. It's very well done.
Nice.
I played a ton of this game, and still to this day, like, I'll go back and I'll play a couple levels. So I've never beaten it, but, like, it's so much fun.
Yeah. This track in particular was really cool. I loved the guitar entrance when the guitar came in. Like, I wasn't expecting it. I was
me
like,
neither.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then, like, as it went on there with the theremin and the other things, it actually kind of reminded me of the theme song to a cartoon called Gravity Falls, which is a fun show. But, you know, there's kind of the mixing of nostalgia there. I was like, oh, this is really cool because I like what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
But it was really, really nice.
This has a lot of, like, really dark synths. It kind of scattered all throughout it, but that theremin really kind of makes this song spooky. Like, that definitely gives it that spooky vibe.
Yeah,
for sure. And then when that guitar comes in, it definitely threw me off because I didn't remember the guitar. Mostly because I didn't spend a ton of time in the dark levels because I could never really. I unlocked them and I would try to play through them and I would always, like, get stuck. So I tried to just, like, beat the light world because there's a light world and a dark world in the game.
What is this? Link to the Past?
Yeah, right. You're going through the game as Meat Boy, just running as fast as you can. It's kind of like a speed platformer, so you're trying to get to the end as fast as you can, avoiding all these different traps. And what's really cool, and my favorite part about this game, is when you die, it saves the file of the path that you took. And then what it does is at the end of the level, when you finish the level, they play back every single death at the same time. So you see not only your replay of how you scored and won, but you see all the other Meat Boys trying to, and there's very specific spots where you're just like, nope, death. It's so much fun. This is like one of my favorite Xbox 360 games. It's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Danny, very famous, I guess maybe to me, but, like, he's done a lot of really good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Big thing being Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Meat Boy was probably his biggest.
Right, well, I mean, as far as games that I played and enjoyed.
Sure. Yeah, he did Binding of Isaac, which I think was done by the same creators.
Oh, yeah.
In 2011. And then Crypt of the Necrodancer, in 2015. And then he did the music for that re-release of... It was more of like a reimagining using the Zelda Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Yes.
It's basically Crypt of the Necrodancer.
It's Cadence of Hyrule.
Yeah, but it's got, like, Zelda music and Zelda characters and stuff in it. You're playing in a Zelda-based world.
Right. So it's the idea of Crypt of the Necrodancer,
Right.
but done in the world of Hyrule with Zelda, Link,
Zelda
and all them,
characters,
called Cadence of Hyrule.
Yep.
Yeah, no. And then when you're talking about the remix, I thought you were going to talk about Cave Story 3D. Because he did the remix soundtrack on that.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. What do you got coming up?
All right, so next up is a game I've never heard of called Cuphead. No, it's Cuphead. Cuphead came out on the Xbox.
Q-Feed.
Q-Feed, yes. This came out on the Xbox One in 2017, and like everything else, shortly after.
Yeah.
The track is The Mausoleum, and it was composed by Christopher Madigan. Welcome back. That was The Mausoleum from Cuphead, the game that came out in the Xbox One in 2017, and everything else very quickly after.
Yes.
This was composed by Christopher Madigan, and it's very short, but you get the point across with the theremin, and it feels very like a lot of this game. It feels very like old school, and I don't mean
Old-timey.
Yeah, old-timey is the better word.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it definitely has that early, 20s, 30s, 40s kind of vibe in terms of the cartoons, and that's exactly the style for Cuphead. So it makes sense that the music kind of echoes that. And I definitely get like a sing-songy kind of vibe with this one, like a haunted sing-songy kind of vibe.
Yeah. Agreed.
I dug this. This was great. I really need to sit down and play through this one. I don't actually own it, so I've just been waiting for a physical release, and it's just not going to come. So I just need to bite the bullet and buy it digital.
Really? This never came out physically?
Nope.
That's surprising, considering how big it ended up.
I know. I mean, there's an animated show.
Yeah, right?
Right?
Limited run games? What are you doing?
I know.
Get on this.
Fail.
So, the Cuphead game is technically called Cuphead Don't Deal with the Devil, and in June of 2022, they released the delicious Last Course. So, the game itself, you play as Cuphead and Mugman.
Yeah.
They are the main characters, and the delicious Last Course adds Ms. Chalice, and an entire fourth Inkwell Isle. Okay, I guess so. The first game, you're going through the 3 Inkwell Isles, and then this must be DLC where they've added a 4th island.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. Cuphead and his brother Mugman end up going to the Devil's Casino, playing craps. They are on a winning streak. And then the devil appears and makes a deal with them, offering to give them all the money in the casino if they win the next roll, and threatening to take their souls if they lose. So they accept the offer, obviously, and then roll snake eyes. They beg for mercy, and the devil gives them another deal. They can collect soul contracts from his runaway debtors by midnight the next day, and they'll be spared. So you are going through the game. It feels very, to me, Mega Man-esque. Like it's a run and gun.
Yeah, I'd say it's more like Contra in terms of the gameplay style, and Mega Man more in terms of the actual vibe, like the feel of how Cuphead controls, in that aspect.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's straight. It's a run and gun.
Yeah.
Because Mega Man was always more of a jumpy shooty kind of platform game.
Yeah, jump and gun.
Jump and gun. Right.
But I mean, well, with this one, I don't think you get the powers or the special abilities from the things you defeat. You defeat the things, then you can trade in the soul tokens or whatever they are for
Different weapons.
For items and stuff at a store.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But I mean, to me, it feels very similar. Where you're going through a level, you get to the boss. The boss has a pattern. I think some of it's a little bit bullet hellish, which is why I never really went near the game because I'm just like, I don't do bullet hells. But I don't think it's as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, I've played it for a couple levels, and it was, I mean, I found it kind of easy, but that's, I don't know.
I've heard a lot of people say that, like, maybe it's the different difficulty settings, but I've heard people talk about how hard the game gets, or maybe it's just, the difficulty curve, like it starts out easy. And
I think that's what it is, yeah. It gets really hard, like, towards the end.
Yeah. So, the composer on this, Christopher Madigan, not a whole lot to talk about. Their only audio credits are for Cuphead and The Delicious Last Course, and as well, they have some video credits for the Ragtime Band in the rhythm section.
Okay. Let's move into our next spooky track. This one is from a game that came out on the Steam. The Steam,
like the Google.
Like the Google, yes. The Steamy in 2014. This is Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion. This track, the song is called A Smile Beneath Your Skin, and it's by Akuma Kira. Oh man, that was something, huh?
Yeah, that was kind of neat.
Yeah. That was Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion. It came out on Steam in 2014. It did get a re-release several years later with a bunch of additional music and composers and whatnot, but I wanted to focus on this one. A Smile Beneath Your Skin is the name of the track, and it's by Akuma Kira. This game was made by two different people, Akuma Kira and AMG Shina in Game Maker. So you have to get through 1,000 rooms of Spooky's Mansion. And that's pretty much the game. The summary is, can you survive 1,000 rooms of cute terror? Or will you break once the cuteness starts to fade off and you're running for your life from the unspeakable hideous beings that shake and writhe in the bowels of this house? They wait for you. They wait in hunger for meeting you. They long to finally meet you and show you how flexible your skin can be after it is soaked in blood. Will you brave this journey? Will you set to beat the impossible, the insane, and the incorporeal?
Wow, what a summary.
Yeah, so I think this might be first person because you move with WASD.
Like yeah, I've been looking at some of the screenshots, and it looks interesting.
Yeah, it's got a weird mix of like cutesy, kind of like almost Adventure Time kind of sprites.
Yeah.
Mixed with like some really kind of creepy, terrifying sprites as well and images.
Yeah, and there's some Lego stuff in here too, apparently.
Yeah, it's all over the place visually. And you know what? That really fits with the music. You know, starting off with this like very 8-bit, very simplistic like Atari. You know, like boo-doo-doo-doo, like very simple,
Yeah.
basic sounds, and then it kicks into that industrial
Yeah, the
like
guitar.
Yeah, and then the guitar comes in, and I got to go back and listen to this one again, because each listen you hear new and different things kind of buried really deep in there. A lot of really creepy, like, panning effects and whatnot.
Yeah, like right before the guitar comes in, there are some sounds that I was like, oh, am I hearing that? And then I heard it again. The guitar came in, and then it picked up and continued. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. This is a contender for a favorite track. This was really cool. Anything like that where you've got a lot of different layers and the track just keeps changing like that, I love that stuff. It keeps the song fresh and different and unique. And the fact that the song ends with such like a kind of moment, it's an interesting one. Yeah, this game looks cool. I'll have to check it out. I'm not big on first-person survival horror type stuff like that, but this, I'm getting a vibe of it being more like puzzle-oriented, so maybe I'll like it.
That's kind of what it looks like. I mean, there definitely is a lot of horror elements in here. Like, creepy dolls are one thing. I'm just like, please get them away from me. And apparently, there's a period where you are carrying around a creepy doll that sometimes covers its eyes and sometimes doesn't. And it again, just with the style of the game, not always having consistency. Like, that doll is like super detailed.
Yeah,
like it looks like a porcelain doll.
Yeah.
So, have fun. Let me know how it is.
Yeah. So this was Akuma Kira's first game as far as audio goes. It looks like they also have done design work, programming, art, so, really kind of worked hand in hand with the other person in the game. After doing an HD renovation on this game in 2017, they later did Lost in Vivo and then Hopbound, where they did the main music for that game.
Hopbound.
Hopbound.
Hopbound, gotcha.
Yes, like a bunny hopping.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, so that's Akuma Kira, and that's Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion. The track that you got next is super nostalgic for me. I'm really looking forward to this one. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier, we were surprised that we haven't actually played anything from this yet, or at least we haven't played this track. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be from Friday the 13th, the 1989 NES game that has been torn to shreds by many reviewers. Music's great, though. So track 02 by Hirohiko Takayama. Okay, that was track 02 from Friday the 13th, the 1989 NES classic composed by Hirohiko Takayama.
I would say you could also call this one the cabin music.
Okay.
Yeah, because this plays when you're in all the various different like cabins, when you can go inside and have a look around, and you'll be rounding the corner, and then all of a sudden you'll either find a camp counselor or you'll find Jason.
Yep.
So, yeah. I love this game, personally. I think it's fun. I mean, yeah, it's kind of annoying when you have the rock because you can't hit anything.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everything is like arcing right over the bad guys. But I personally really like it. I mean, it's got great music, really catchy in-game, you know, when you're walking around the map. I love that song. And then this song in particular, just to talk about this one, oh my goodness, what a wave of nostalgia for this one. I played this game a lot back in the day, and I was never good at it. Like, I couldn't figure out the map. Like, I would be like, oh, I'm going to go left, and then it'd be going right. I'm like, wait, what? So, like, I always got lost, and I always died in this game. But when I heard this music, it really brings me back to playing this game as a kid and being terrified. Like, I think this music is terrifying, personally.
Oh, yeah. So it partly reminds me of, like, the dungeon music from Legend of Zelda.
Oh, yeah.
But
Didn't even think of that.
yeah, it's got a similar kind of vibe to it, but there's something about it that just makes it a little bit more sinister. And I don't know if it's that droning bass, just the doo, 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 or if it's the way that they put the kind of the melody together. But there's definitely something sinister and creepy about this track.
You know, I picture listening to it if it was redone with actual, like, real instruments. And the only thing that comes to mind is the Exorcist theme.
Tubular bells.
Yeah, tubular
That's funny.
bells.
I was thinking, like, is he going to say tubular bells?
Yeah. This really gives me Tubular Bells vibes. It's just, you would be turning a corner and you'd be like, oh, I'm looking for the camp counselor, and the lights would be out, and you'd be like, and I remember the first time that I saw Jason, when I came across, I was definitely like jumped back. Like, it's totally scared me because it came out of nowhere, and you got to try to defeat him, and then if you defeat him, it's like you defeated Jason for now.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and then, you know, you got to get him later. But yeah, you're playing as the different camp counselors I think in the movie. I can't even remember.
Yeah, because you've got Chrissy, Debbie, George, Laura, Mark, and Paul.
Yeah, I think those are the names of the counselors of the first movie, but don't quote me on that because it's been forever since I've seen that first movie. Well, it's time for another sponsor. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wait, what? What's going on? During XVGM Radio's Spookyfest, we have sponsors that reach out to us that are like, hey, we want you to sponsor this. So this sponsored ad is for Jason's Ginsu Knives. Friday the 13th's Jason is a man of few words and plenty of action. He knows how to get the most out of his sharp utensils. That's why today we're offering you a chance to own Jason's very own Ginsu Knives. Each sharpie stabby thing is separated into 3 separate sizes: puncture, slice, and Jason's favorite, obliterate. Unsheath the blade from its holster, and you too can knife something until it's barely recognizable. Works on all sorts of foods and non-foods. You want to rip open a can of beans without a can opener? Jason's got your back. Want to prove to your friends you can cut open a shoe with a knife? Jason's here for you. Want to make whoopee in the camp cabin and be skewered to bits? Jason's all over that. Get Jason's Ginsu Knives set today, and he'll throw in a free disemboweler knife at no extra cost. But act now, quantities are limited. And if you want it, you can reach out to us right here at our booth, where we are showcasing this episode live. Yeah.
Stop on by and get a gander at this knife.
Yeah, this lovely knife set. Yeah.
So before we move on, let's touch on Hirohiko Takayama, who started out doing a lot of uncredited work, such as The Karate Kid in 1987, Gotcha the Sport, Zezix in 1989, NFL in 89, and I believe they were also uncredited for this game, Friday the 13th.
They were. Yeah.
They were credited for Ongaku Music in Parallel World in 1990, and then let's pick a couple other ones. Ghostbusters 2 in 1990, I know we've talked about that. Panic Restaurant in 1992.
Yep.
And we'll say Adventure Island 3 in 92, and most recently their last audio credit is Ishi Hisachi no Daisakai in 1994.
Right. That's a Sega CD game that came out.
Yes. All right. So what do we got coming up on your end? This is your last pick, right?
Yeah, sadly. This is my last pick of the night. This is Evil Tonight. This came out on the Switch and Steam in 2021. This track is called Haven, and it's by Peter Jones. Thanks for joining us on our Spookyfest 2022. That was Evil Tonight, and the track was called Haven by Peter Jones. This came out exclusively on the Switch and Steam in 2021. I'm a little bummed and a little miffed because I've been so busy. I have not had a chance to play this one. I did download it specifically for this episode. I found this one randomly when I was just like looking for music for this episode and came across it. I was looking for something a little newer, and I really dug the art style. First off, it was like anime-ish, but not like, you know, cutesy. It was very kind of dark inspired. And then I saw the actual like in-game art, and it is gorgeous. It's like all 2D sprite, kind of like top down, very like Zelda-esque. But this one is modeled like you're playing like a Resident Evil 2D game, but top down. Very similar to Monster House on the Game Boy Advance, which was like a survival horror 2D game, like top down. So very similar to that. But this is a newer game with like a mix of like anime cutesiness, but like it's like serious cutesiness. It's mostly a cast of girls who you're playing as or defeating, and you know the sprites themselves look like something from like Final Fantasy VI or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So there's that, and then you're just running around as the main character, who I believe her name is Sylvia. And you're just going around solving puzzles and, you know, collecting things, and it looks great. Like visually, it looks stunning, and just looks like my type of game. I love classic survival horror, and this is touted as like a throwback to that era, the PS1 era, and I think Peter Jones really nailed the music and the tone of the PlayStation here.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, this is probably one of the lower key tracks.
Yeah.
maybe the most low key track we've played
For sure.
tonight. But
For me, at least.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it was really good. Like, it was a nice change of pace for one, and I thought it was beautiful. Like, just the piano
Absolutely.
melody was haunting. And
then
beautiful.
that piano harp part towards the end, where the piano, it sounds like a piano and harp are playing at the same time, the same notes.
Yes.
But they're bouncing off of one another so that they sound like they're the same instrument. It was really cool. I was definitely digging this one. It's just a really pretty looking game, and it sounds great too. I mean, the rest of the soundtrack has, a mix of other like survival horror-esque type songs and everything. But this in particular really stood out to me. I mean, I was catching like some Parasite Eve vibes, Final Fantasy vibes a little bit too in there. Like, especially with that darker piano, when that note comes down, like, dong.
Yeah.
That sound really kind of came into its own during that era, that PS1 era. So, nailed it. You're playing as Sylvia, and she is a modern exorcist. And she has the ability to materialize evil out of haunted places, but sadly, in the evening that you are playing the game, things don't go quite as planned. So you're solving puzzles, you're trying to uncover the mystery of everything that's going on with this game. It looks really cool. So there's no map, there's no hand-holding, so to speak. Very similar to the old school Resident Evil type games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you don't have a lot of ammo. Very similar to like the first few Resident Evil games. Like, you're not like, it's not like Resident Evil 5 where you're just, you're pooping out ammo. You're trying to avoid attacking things, which is always a challenge. And I always forget playing like a survival horror game because I just want to play it like Resident Evil 5, where it's just like, I just want to blow stuff up like Contra style,
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh shoot, I can't take out this guy. Yeah, if you dig pixel art and you dig survival horrors, I think you'll really like this one. So, Peter Jones, he's a composer for Scarlet Moon Productions, and we've interviewed a couple of their composers over the years. And he's from Kansas City, Missouri. He got into the video game industry, according to Scarlet Moon, by contributing to and producing fan tribute projects under like Materia Collective. So doing stuff for like remixes for like Xenogears, Legends of Zelda, Majora's Mask, stuff like that. He has done a few games. Aside from Evil Tonight, he also did Monster Sanctuary and Law Mage Academy. He's done a few other games too, but a lot of them are like to be announced or, games that haven't come out yet. So he did a game called Grub Dash Driver Food Delivery Driver Simulator. I want to play that.
Grub Dash.
Grub Dash. Grub Dash sounds terrible though. It sounds like you're playing as a grub and you're like dashing around,
Maybe you are.
Maybe you're in a car playing as a grub and you're just using like a dash mechanic to like drive all over and deliver
Air
food.
dash.
Yeah. So that's it. Pretty cool. Cool soundtrack. Neat looking game. I have this one. I really need to sit down and play it. So maybe I'll do that at some point in time. All right. What are you closing us out with?
All right. So closing us out with an arcade game from 1990. This is going to be from Aliens. The track is stages 5-1 and 5-2, and it was composed by Masanori Adachi. Welcome back. That final spooky track was from Aliens, the 1990 arcade game. Stages 5-1 and 5-2 is the name of it, and Masanori Adachi is the composer.
That was quite spooky.
Yeah. I thought there was some like theremin emulation going on with some of the synths there.
Really crunchy FM going on there. Don't, you know.
Yeah, it not quite, but almost reminded me of some of the like Teki Paki Total Plan stuff. A bit softer, which I appreciate.
I'm catching some vibes from like Haunted Castle.
Okay.
Which makes sense, you know.
Konami,
yeah. I have not played this one, or maybe I have and I can't remember, but if I recall, it's like a side-scrolling game where you're playing as Ellen Ripley, right? from
mostly,
Aliens?
yeah. So there's two characters, Ellen Ripley or Corporal Hicks. There is a two-player mode for the game, so you pick which character you're going to play as, and there are some segments that are third-person. But the game follows the story of the first movie,
Second movie.
Second movie. Thank you. I'm like, wait, no, because the S is the second movie. Yeah. But yeah, Ellen and Corporal Hicks start out the game with a smart gun, and you can upgrade weapons like flamethrowers, missiles, and grenade launchers and things like that. Every level, ends with a boss. The final boss is the Alien Queen, which you fight with a powered exoskeleton loader. Just like in the movie, I am unsure if you get to say, "Get away from her, you."
Get away from her, you witch.
Get away from her, you snitch.
Get away from her, you ditch. Get away from her, you Mitch. This is one of those games that had, if you look at the art, either in the ads or on the side of the cabinet or whatever, if I recall. Maybe not the side of the cabinet, but Konami was infamous for doing this. They put a pretty lady on, a very 80s pretty lady.
Oh, yeah. They could have just talked to the movie production company and gotten some shots.
They might not have been able to do that though, because they have to use her likeness. And they may have to pay for that likeness.
That's fair.
So probably what ended up happening was they hired some random 80s, beach babe model sort of thing. And they were like, hey, we'll pay you a couple, $100 or whatever. You want to throw on a tank top and some pants and grab a fake gun and protect some little kid that we'll also put in. Yeah, so they don't really look anything like their movie characters in terms of that ad.
No, because Ripley has short dark hair and this lady has long blonde hair.
Right.
Ripley was wearing a lot of dark colors.
She's got that blonde bombshell kind of look going for her, and then the girl that's with her, I don't know, doesn't look anything like the girl from the movie, the little girl.
No, because the little girl from the movie looks like a little girl. And
right.
This girl
looks like a young teenager.
I need a better picture, but from what I'm looking at, she looks like a young Japanese girl. Not a child, but just a teen Japanese girl.
Yeah. That's a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. So, anyways, I dug this track. It was cool. I'm going to have to play this game. I don't think I've ever played it. So
yeah, me either.
It sounds familiar.
It doesn't look bad, although the aliens are purple.
Yeah.
They are... I wouldn't call them bright purple, but they are bright enough that they I expect more blacks and grays out of the aliens. Maybe some tinge of green because of the acid spit, but purple just stands out.
I feel like
to me.
They probably did that just to make the game more visually interesting. It's going to be in an arcade. They can't have just black blobs kind of flying at you all over the place.
Fair. I guess I'll take that one.
So I'm thinking maybe that's the reason why they did it. I don't know.
Possible.
Yeah. Anyways, Masanori Adachi.
Masanori Adachi started out doing music with Russian Attack all the way back in 1987. I feel like we've talked about Masanori Adachi a handful of times because they also did music composition on Contra 3, The Alien Wars, Axelay in 1992, UFO Day in the Life in 1999.
Whoa. How are you going to skip Super Castlevania 4?
It's because it's right below Contra, okay.
You went directly for Contra and skipped over Super Castlevania 4.
Did.
How dare you?
I'm sorry.
This guy.
It won't happen again, I promise. Anyway. Also, freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land in 2006.
That's definitely where we talked about him because we talked about him on the Zelda episode that we did, the Zelda handheld episode.
Yep. Their most recent credit is for Robobo's Big Adventure in 2012.
Well, that's uncredited.
Right. So their last music credit was in 2011 for We Play Motion.
Right. Yeah, and they did sound effects for Dylan's Rolling Western in 2012. So.
Dylan.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
We have one last sponsor to talk about. Speaking of aliens, if you enjoy the Aliens show and some other things, you may be interested in this. So, coming to television and streaming services this Halloween is a show you've heard of before, but with a twist. Ripley's Believe It or Not. Join Ellen Ripley as she hosts an assortment of mercenaries, soldiers, scientists, and little girls as she tells them xenomorphs are right behind them. But is Ripley telling the truth, or is she just joking around? Find out on the pilot episode of Ripley's Believe It or Not, only on Channel 51. Tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night for the premiere.
This does not sound good. I would not watch this show.
It
It seems like it would get old really fast.
I don't know. It all depends on how often there really is a xenomorph behind them and what the reaction is.
True.
Did they get the ovipositor, or did they run away screaming?
Oh man, tons of good stuff in this spooky episode.
Absolutely. What was your favorite?
That's a tough call. Man, I really dig that Spooky's jump scare mansion track, but I also really dug the Evil Tonight song. Your Friday the 13th song was banging.
Nostalgic pick for you.
Yeah, super nostalgic pick. Of your stuff, I'd probably say The Mummy.
That one was really good.
Yeah.
I was really happy I found that soundtrack.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I really need to check out that game. I own it. I'm
Just sitting on your shelf.
It's
collecting
sitting on my
dust.
shelf collecting dust. I'm sort of ashamed that I haven't played it yet, but I'll get around to it.
Yeah.
I'll need to check this out. So, that would be probably my pick from your stuff.
Yep.
But from mine, I would go with I think Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion.
That's fair. Yeah, I think from your picks, I would go with Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion as well. All in all, the Super Meat Boy track that Alex Messenger asked for was probably top of my list. Chad's Broken Wind, for as funny as a title as that is, the track was really good, and I do like Danny Baranowski's stuff.
Yes,
so
same.
It's an easy win for me.
What were your favorite picks? Let us know in all of our social media, Discord, Twitter, email. Come over to our booth right before the show ends and scream at us and then run away.
Summoning circles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Smoke circles, summoning circles. Circles. It's all good.
Concentric circles.
So we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons, without whom this show's continued improvement would be impossible. They are Alex Messenger, Cam Worma, Chris Hart, Jordan and Anson Davis, Rage Cage, Kung Fu Carlito of the Heroes 3 podcast, Scott McElhone, Chris Myers, Scott Brackett, Brad Austin, Chris Murray, Llama Adam, Marcus Stewart, Nick Davis, and Ryan McPherson.
If you would like to become a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/xvgmradio. There you can see the different tiers as well. Just $1 gets you a thank you at the end of the show and access to our monthly live shows.
You can visit our website, xvgmradio.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and learn more about your hosts, as well as any of our guests or composers that we've had on the show.
If you'd like to reach out to us, you can always email us at xvgmradio@gmail.com.
If you've liked what you've heard, please consider giving us a review on iTunes.
You can join our Facebook group and chat with other VGM lovers at facebook.com/groups/xvgmradio, where we talk about everything from current game news to sharing awesome VGM tracks or just talking about the podcast itself.
You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle on both of those sites is @xvgmradio.
If you don't have any other social media or just want to try something unique, check us out on our Discord group chat. Links will be in the show notes.
In 1 month, Justin, what's happening? What do we got going on?
We are coming back with another episode 95.
Oh man, 5 more until 100. Oh, we should probably mention, just to remind everybody, if you didn't listen to last episode, we have contests going for episode 100. If you are an artist, please...
You know what? Even if you're not an artist, if you would like to do this, you don't have to be an artist.
That's
to
true.
do
If you
it.
just want to do it for fun, you don't have to be a self-proclaimed artist. If you just want to send us something, it can be funny, it can be silly. Yeah. We're still going to feature it in our YouTube version.
Exactly. I was just going to say, even if you don't win, your art will still be displayed on the YouTube version of the episode.
That's right.
You do have to follow the rules, though.
Yep. What we're doing is we're having a contest. The winner of the contest gets $200, real dollars, or money. We'll send you monies. So $200 if you win the contest for episode 100, we would like you to put together a title card, look at some of our other title cards to kind of like understand how we do them. And if you want to do something similar, great. If you want to do something different, that's cool too. It has to fit 1280 by 720 in the end, and it has to look like not stretched out when we resize it to 1280 by 720. And that's about it. So send us your entries. You have until March 1st. xvgmradio@gmail.com. We hope to see your entries very soon.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. No excuse. Let's see it.
Correct.
Whip it out. Whip out your artistry.
So, episode 95 in the month of November will be PS2 and PSP. These two consoles, one more traditional, one handheld, both made by Sony, came out pretty close together.
Yeah, a couple years apart.
Yeah, and they share some things like the color black and
And the letter P.
yeah. There's definitely some P in there.
There's some gross. Yeah, so we're going to be diving deep into the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation Portable library to find maybe some exclusives, maybe some non-exclusives, just to kind of showcase the systems. Because nobody really is showcasing both at the same time, so we figured why not?
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of the stuff is Redbook audio, so I feel like the music's going to be great, but I feel like our conversation might be more about either nostalgia or, the games themselves. I mean, we'll definitely be talking about the music and the compositions, but we're not talking about consoles with sound chips that are doing FM synthesis or anything like that.
Right.
It'll be a little different for a console-focused episode based on what we've done in the past.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, you got an announcement to make, right?
Yeah, so this episode comes out on the 26th of October. If you were listening to this anytime between then and, say, the 11th of November, you may want to consider heading on over to Extra Life. We'll post a link in the show notes. I am doing the Extra Life event that I do every year. The actual game day is the weekend of the 5th of November, but my wife and I are unfortunately too busy that weekend, so we are going to be doing 24 hours of gaming over the weekend of the 12th. So the 12th and the 13th, we've got a bunch of things planned. I have a schedule up right now. I also have a number of incentives. So $10, you can tell me what game to play for 2 hours on Sunday. I've got 5 slots open for that. $5, and
That's
I will...
dangerous.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Somebody can make you play Global Gladiators.
I have to have the game. I have a list. There's a link to a list of all the games that I own on the PS4, which is easily streamable, and my PC, which is directly streamable. The one thing I don't have in there right now is the VR games, so I'm going to be updating that list over the next couple of days. I also don't know if my computer can run a VR game and stream at the same time.
Ooh, yeah.
I might melt my board. We'll find out. But yeah, the proceeds support Miracle Network Children's Hospitals. I'm going for the one right here in Connecticut, in the state that I live in. So if you would like to help kids with cancer, and who doesn't, you head on over and please make a donation. You don't have to use an incentive, but if you would like to affect what I am doing over the course of the stream, feel free to use those incentives and make me do silly things. I think $20, you can set a challenge for me in any game that I'm playing, and if I don't beat the challenge, if I can't do what you want me to do, assuming that it's actually possible, I will match your donation as well, so that's just more money. Feel free to head over, check on down on the show notes, and help kids with cancer, please.
Yeah, and one more thing. We do, if you haven't seen, the XVGM Radio After Dark episodes that we've been doing once a month. We announce them on our Patreon, but also on our Twitter and our social media. So what we basically do is I go over Justin's house and we listen to a vinyl, a VGM vinyl. And every month it's a different thing. We did Parasite Eve in October.
Just yesterday.
Yeah. So feel free to, if you're interested, check that out as well. We post a schedule on various different social medias. So
yeah, and I think those XVGM After Darks, because we do them on Twitch, I think they get saved. So you can also head on over to twitch.tv/shock83j16. That is my Twitch handle and many other things. And the VOD might actually be there. I'm not sure, but I believe I found our previous ones. So if you're interested, we've done some pretty cool stuff like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Star Fox 2.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think was our first one.
Yeah.
So go on over to Twitch and check those out if you are interested, because it's more than just us listening to the music.
Right.
It's also chatting, and
we're talking a lot about memories of playing the games or even not playing the games, talking a little bit about the vinyl release and everything. So if you're a VGM nerd like us, it's a fun time.
Check it out.
Yeah. All right. So this is Mike
And Justin.
signing off for XVGM Spooky Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the beats where the bits keep coming.
I hate beets.
Sorry.
I like tomatoes more, though.
All right.
Radishes are okay. Act now and we'll throw in a free bandage wrap for free. Sorry. Yeah, no, just we'll throw in a free bandage wrap for free.
Act now. We'll throw in a free bandage wrap for free.
Yeah. Good writing.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thanks.